There was a time when Shaun Cassidy stood at the summit of teenage fame. Across continents, enormous crowds of devoted admirers screamed his name with wild enthusiasm. His face stared down from posters that covered bedroom walls, and each Sunday evening television screens shimmered with his glowing grin on the Hardy Boys. To the public, he appeared polished, wholesome, and effortlessly charming. Beneath that spotless image, however, lived a young man weighed down by deep emotional wounds. His imagination and creative hunger reached far beyond the light-hearted entertainment the network demanded. He openly shared his wish for the Hardy Boys to address genuine social concerns, including police brutality, drug abuse, and teenage trauma. Yet executives repeatedly dismissed his suggestions. They preferred cheerful, safe adventures rather than confronting uncomfortable truths. Cassidy continued smiling for the cameras, fulfilling his role, but internally something cracked. By 1981, he had retreated entirely from the spotlight, abandoning fame without looking back. For almost 40 years, he remained quiet and largely out of view. When he finally re-emerged, he shocked observers by refusing a $15 million proposal to reboot The Hardy Boys, criticizing the fresh scripts as too childish. Years later, devoted fans rewatched the original episodes and began noticing odd details hidden in plain sight, lingering shadows, carefully arranged props, and subtle hints suggesting emotional pain beneath the surface. Many wondered whether Cassidy had been attempting to communicate something all along, a message the network never wanted audiences to hear. Shaun Cassidy was born on September 27, 1958, in Los Angeles, California. His mother, Shirley Jones, was already a celebrated Hollywood figure and an Academy Award winner. His father, Jack Cassidy, enjoyed prominence as a Broadway actor and singer. Outwardly, they appeared to represent the perfect American family, glamorous, talented, and successful. Behind closed doors, though, their home was marked by instability. Jack struggled with bipolar disorder and endured violent mood swings. Heavy drinking became common. Furniture was destroyed, and his unpredictable conduct frightened his children. At times he roamed the house naked or proclaimed himself to be Jesus, revealing how severely his mental state had deteriorated. When Shaun was just 16 years old, another breakdown led to his father being placed in psychiatric care. Growing up amid such volatility left lasting scars. Shaun lived in constant apprehension, never certain which version of his father he would encounter. Adding to his sense of invisibility, his half-brother David Cassidy had already achieved worldwide fame through the Partridge Family. Within his own household, Shaun felt overshadowed. He later admitted that David offered no advice or encouragement, even after Shaun himself became famous. Their relationship remained tense, shaped by jealousy and emotional distance. From the outside, the family seemed flawless. Internally, it was quietly disintegrating. His teenage years blended privilege with pain. The family occupied a mansion in Beverly Hills, yet financial comfort offered no protection from cruelty. At private school, classmates teased him for being the son of what they labeled a corny musical actress. They mocked his mother's movies and parodied her songs, causing him to feel embarrassed about the very people he loved. The deepest blow came on December 12, 1976, when his father, Jack Cassidy, died in a fire. After drinking heavily, Jack accidentally dropped a cigarette onto a couch, igniting the apartment. Firefighters later found his body close to the door. He had tried to escape but did not succeed. Shaun rushed to the location and witnessed the aftermath firsthand. Scorched walls, the heavy smell of smoke, and the body bag containing what remained of his father. Only a melted gold pinky ring could still be recognized. That moment altered him permanently, launching a long journey through grief, anger, and guilt. The loss would later influence the darker themes he longed to explore as a writer and producer. At that time, however, he was simply a boy struggling to survive both tragedy and the shadow of celebrity. Following the funeral, his mother encouraged him to immerse himself in work. Acting lessons began along with steady auditions. Roles were scarce in the beginning, and one casting director even told him he looked too sweet to portray a rebellious character. He refused to surrender. In 1975, while still in high school, he signed a recording contract with Curb Records under Warner Brothers. His first single, Morning Girl, failed to make an impact. Everything changed in 1977. That year, his recording of Da Do Ron Ron soared to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, remaining there for weeks. In an instant, he became a global teen idol, selling out concerts across the world. His debut album moved more than 2 million copies. Yet stardom carried a heavy burden. His schedule was punishing, sometimes demanding 200 shows within a single year and leaving him with only a few hours of sleep. During one performance in Germany, he collapsed on stage from sheer exhaustion. Behind the scenes, managers arranged fake romances and orchestrated photo shoots to strengthen his heartthrob image. He despised the artificiality, but was reminded that it came with the job. At only 18, he seemed to be living every teenager's fantasy. But it was not his dream. It was a carefully manufactured persona created for public consumption. In 1977, Shaun Cassidy secured the television role that cemented his iconic status. Joe Hardy in the Hardy Boys/Nancy Drew Mysteries. The series quickly became one of ABC's top-rated programs, attracting over 20 million viewers. Producers appreciated his clean-cut charm and approachable face, but he yearned for more substance. He persistently urged the network to address real teenage issues, from drug use and family struggles to corruption within the police system. Each suggestion was rejected. Executives preferred entertaining mysteries rather than socially challenging themes. Cassidy continued pushing, revising dialogue and requesting greater emotional depth, yet his ideas were blocked. Filming proved demanding. Cast members often worked 18-hour days and performed many of their own stunts. At one point, dehydration caused him to faint during production. Controversy soon erupted when it became known that co-star Pamela Sue Martin, who portrayed Nancy Drew, earned half his salary. In protest, she posed for Playboy magazine, and ABC promptly fired her. Fans reacted angrily, and the show began losing its balance. Meanwhile, Cassidy started receiving disturbing letters and even death threats from obsessive followers. One individual broke into his home. Under immense pressure, his once bright television smile slowly faded. As the seasons progressed, the Hardy Boys struggled with falling ratings. The network made drastic adjustments, removing Nancy Drew and steering the storyline into darker territory centered on death, drugs, and espionage. One season opened with Joe Hardy's fiancée being killed, dramatically shifting the tone. Parents complained that the show was no longer appropriate for children. Letters poured into the FCC, and sponsors began withdrawing their support. Cassidy proposed going even further into realistic storytelling, suggesting plots about police corruption and teenage addiction, but executives refused again. By 1979, ratings had dropped to number 92, prompting ABC to cancel the series. Cassidy felt crushed, yet he was not entirely surprised. He had already witnessed how fame restricted creativity and how networks prioritized profit over artistic truth. The cancellation felt both like liberation and defeat. He had gained fame for something he no longer believed in. That mixture of frustration and sadness later shaped his work when he eventually controlled his own projects. After the Hardy Boys ended, Shaun attempted to redefine himself. He returned to music with albums such as Under Wraps and Wasp, but none achieved the success of his earlier hits. Critics argued that his darker musical direction clashed with his established image. Eventually, Warner Brothers dropped him. He resumed acting, choosing serious films and stage productions to demonstrate he was more than a teen idol. In 1981, he joined the Broadway play Mass Appeal, hoping audiences would see his genuine talent. Instead, theatergoers who saw his name expected bubblegum pop rather than heavy drama. Within a week, ticket sales plummeted and the production lost millions. Cassidy later described the ordeal as one of the most painful experiences of his life. He realized that fame can trap a person. Audiences often want only the version they first adored. In the years that followed, steady work proved difficult to find. His marriage began to crumble, and his personal life filled with disappointment. The dream that once seemed unstoppable faded into a long silence. During the late 1980s and early 1990s, Shaun Cassidy stepped away from performing altogether. He shifted his focus to writing and producing, determined to control stories instead of being controlled by them. His first project, a 1991 television movie titled Strays, was intended to be serious. However, the network insisted it revolve around killer cats. The film flopped and critics mocked it. Despite the setback, Cassidy persevered. In 1995, he created American Gothic, a dark and emotionally complex television series reflecting the type of storytelling he had long envisioned. The narrative followed an evil sheriff with supernatural powers and examined themes of good and evil, family trauma, and corruption. Critics hailed it as one of the most original shows of the decade. Yet, like the Hardy Boys before it, ratings struggled, and it was canceled after one season. Still, American Gothic became a cult classic. For the first time, Cassidy felt he was truly expressing the darkness he had carried for so long. He was no longer chasing fame. He was pursuing truth. As years passed, he found contentment working behind the camera. He wrote and produced multiple series, including Roar, Invasion, and New Amsterdam. New Amsterdam achieved major success from 2018 to 2023, running for 5 seasons and earning praise for its emotional storytelling. This time, Cassidy possessed full creative control. He infused deeper themes into the medical drama, exploring love, grief, and human weakness. Critics admired the growth he displayed as an artist. Streaming platforms later attempted to lure him back to his earlier fame. Netflix offered him $15 million to reboot The Hardy Boys, but he declined. He explained that the new scripts felt too childish and lacked the emotional authenticity real teenagers experience. He refused to repeat the compromises of his past. Fans respected him even more for that decision. Many revisited old episodes and noticed peculiar dark elements hidden in the background. Newspaper clippings about crime, shadows resembling faces, and scenes hinting at deeper sadness. It seemed he had been sending a message all along, one that went unnoticed for decades. Today, Shaun Cassidy lives a quieter life. His net worth is estimated at around $20 million, yet wealth no longer drives him. What matters most, he says, is telling honest stories that connect with people. His journey mirrors Hollywood itself, an industry that rewards beauty and celebrity while often punishing sincerity. From a frightened boy in a broken home to a pressured teen idol, and ultimately a respected writer and producer, he has lived many chapters. His story reminds us that those who appear happiest on camera can carry invisible pain behind it. He once reflected, "I was a teen idol." That status, he acknowledged, has a short shelf life. What endured was his courage to tell real stories even when discouraged. The boy who sang to Do Ron Ron matured into a man who confronted his demons and transformed them into art. The Hardy Boys may have grown darker, but through Shaun Cassidy's truth, we finally understand why growing up famous can prevent someone from ever truly growing up. For Shaun Cassidy, fame had frozen him in time as a smiling young man with perfect hair and shining eyes. Yet life continued moving forward, and so did he. As he aged, he realized that many people still viewed him as the 18-year-old pop star he once was. They showed little interest in his struggles, his ideas, or his life as a father. Instead, they craved nostalgia, autographs, and memories that had never fully reflected reality. In one interview, he stated, "Fame gives you everything, and then it takes away everything that matters." Building an authentic identity proved difficult when the world believed it already knew him. After his music career ended, he stepped away from the spotlight for a time. He concentrated on raising his children, writing quietly, and establishing stability for the first time in his life. Even so, the ghosts of his childhood, the loss of his father, the fractured family, and relentless expectations continued to haunt him. Writing eventually became his therapy. Each day, he spent hours alone at a keyboard, pouring his feelings into stories that might never be published. He explained that writing allowed him to speak to himself in a language only he understood. One early, unpublished script told the story of a young boy attempting to save his father from madness, clearly inspired by his own life. Over time, industry professionals recognized his storytelling talent. Unlike many Hollywood writers, Cassidy understood how fame could destroy someone from the inside. His characters were never purely good or evil. They were human, flawed, and frightened. When pitching American Gothic, he described it as the tale of a good child struggling to survive in a world governed by darkness. It was more than fiction. It was his own life reframed through a supernatural lens. Though the series did not last long, critics later called it ahead of its time. Directors associated with shows like Supernatural and Stranger Things have acknowledged his early influence. Without fully realizing it, Shaun Cassidy helped shape a new wave of storytelling, proving that even a teen idol can grow into an artist who transforms pain into enduring art.